Hey there, I'm Mark Hamrock with Hamrock Music. In this video lesson series, I'm going through the complete process of writing a song and recording it, and I'm taking you along for the ride. I'm showing you how to get from this to this. If you haven't seen the previous videos on writing the music or melody to the song, you can find links to those videos in the description section below. In this video, I'm going to go through writing lyrics to the song. If you're new to writing lyrics, you might want to check out my lyric writing course link below. A great place to start when writing lyrics is actually with the title of the song, because that can tie into the hook we're going to sing in the chorus. And it thematically ties the lyrical subject matter together into a catchphrase or a punchline. You want to make the title memorable and catchy if possible without being too cliche. So what I did is I went back and listened to the scratch track I laid out. There's a video on that link below, a few times to get a general feel for the mood of the song, which should then inspire the subject matter and thus the title. To me, the song had the feeling of some sort of longing for something, and at the end of the chorus with the 4 major to the 4 minor resolving back to the 1 chord, along with the melody, it had the sense of an arrival. So the phrase I heard in my head for the resolution of the melody was, "Now I'm coming home," which would then most likely give me the abbreviated title, "Coming Home." Now for me personally, that seems like a pretty generic title, so I looked up on Spotify how many songs had that title, and there were a few, including ones by Keith Urban, Avenged Sevenfold, and Leon Bridges. So then I searched different variations such as "Flying Home" or "Going Home," and there were still a lot, so I opted to just stick with "Coming Home," which should be fine for our purposes here. So now that we have the title and hook for our song, we can think of a story to go behind the concept. I like to think of songs as short stories or little movies. You want to take the listener on a trip visually as well as sonically. "Coming Home" could obviously be about a character, our protagonist, let's say, being gone and then coming home, which works great because it presents a simple conflict and then resolution, which any good story or movie contains. Now, in the week or so I was mulling over ideas, I happened to be flying out of town and I watched the movie 1917 on the plane, which is about a couple of British soldiers sent on a mission in World War I. And man, the conditions these guys were in presented me with the perfect contrast to being home. Traversing a foreign land while being shot at and sleeping wherever they can, to me that sounds about as far as you can get from being home. So I'm going to be inspired by that movie, and now my storyline has gone from protagonist away from home goes home to soldier at war returns home. Is it the most original idea? Of course not. And it sounds like it could be a country song, but hey, that's what might make it unique. So right there I was influenced by another work of art, a movie, which inspired the idea for my song. You can do this with books, movies, plays, anime, graphic novels, other songs, paintings, the list goes on and on. I go through all of this in my lyric writing course. So as you can see, I'm actually coming up with a type of elevator pitch or short synopsis. American soldier at war returns home to his wife. So right there, I made it more personal by adding the wife element. Movie Formula 101, always include a love interest to your story to pull at those heartstrings. Now, do I always do this for songs? Of course not. There are many different ways or forms you can use when writing lyrics. They don't always have to be stories. For this song, though, we're going to use the story approach. Now, what I'm going to do is make our elevator pitch more interesting by adding a plot twist. How about American soldier at war with 1 month left of duty returns early to his wife in a casket? Oh man, that's pure tragedy. It sounds pretty depressing, but that is a common occurrence in any war, so that story needs to be told. We can also present the soldier dying later in the song, most likely in the bridge, to make it act as more of a plot twist. We can't get too complex in our storytelling within 2 verses, a chorus, and a bridge, so we'll leave it at that for a basic storyline idea. Now, because I have a literal storyline doesn't mean I need to tell the story as a series of events. And now that I think of it, a good example of a song that does this is the Iron Maiden song, "The Trooper," which tells a series of events in a battle as they unfold from first-person point of view. Anyway, because our song is more of a ballad, and I feel that like that wouldn't really fit the narrative here, I'm going to tell the story from first person, being the protagonist soldier, but I'm going to do it in a way that's much more subtle and uses a ton of imagery. Ah, yes, imagery, a writer's secret weapon for putting the reader, or in this case, listener, smack dab in the middle of the story or song. Although imagery is visually descriptive language, you want to use other senses, sound, smell, touch, even taste, to put the listener there. Imagery creates those little movies the listener sees in their head. It's a very powerful thing. I'm going to make the lyrics more visceral, probably even to the point of the listener not being aware that the protagonist is at battle, at least in the first verse. I personally prefer at times to keep lyrics more open to interpretation rather than spelling everything out, even if I'm telling a specific story. So now that I have a better idea of the overall concept of the song lyrically, there's a couple of steps I'm going to take next. The first is to outline within the song structure the pacing of the story, much like you would in writing a 3-act screenplay, and the other is to brainstorm ideas and imagery. So let's lay out the structure of the song we're using. Verse 1, chorus 1, verse 2, chorus 2, bridge, chorus 3. Writing lyrics is like solving a jigsaw puzzle in the way that you want to build off of whatever pieces you have. Right now, all I have is "Now I'm coming home" at the end of the chorus. That lyric implies that whatever comes before it is talking about not being home, and choruses usually act as a summary, so we'll say that the choruses are going to talk about what the protagonist has been through, and then, but now I'm coming home. Okay, good enough for now. Verse 1, again, I want to make it more visceral or intuitional. Is that a word? How about waking from a sleepless dream? There's a scene in another great war film, Saving Private Ryan, where the soldiers are trying to sleep in a bombed-out church. So let's say describe in imagery waking from a sleepless dream where the soldier is talking to his wife. That's pretty powerful. In verse 2, I'm going to describe more the actual war aspect, but still subtly, and maybe if there's room, I can contrast it with descriptions of home as well. For the bridge, that's where the twist comes in. I'll want to say with 1 month left, the soldier dies in battle and is coming home early in a box. Okay, now that I have my very general outline, I'm going to brainstorm some ideas about the song on my own and narrow them down to what I think might be usable. So I'll be back with that. Okay, so as you can see, I have my synopsis at the top here. And then what I did is I went through who, what, where, when, and why, just to solidify the story, to make it a little more concrete in my head. And so from there, I came up with some brainstorming ideas. I just sat down, and the first thing that came off the top of my head, tried to come up with some imagery that I could use in the song. And so feel free at any time, you can pause the screen and kind of read through that stuff. If I scroll down, so what I did next is I went through and broke it down to sort of the main two contrasting ideas, the idea of war and of being home. And I took those words and sort of came up with other words that I could use that fit with those. And so a good way to do that is to go to thesaurus.com. And if I type in, let's say home, then what it does is it gives you a bunch of synonyms for the word home. So then you could use some of those, or you could even click on those and sort of go off on tangents and find words that you would want to use in your song. And so then from there, I came up with some rhyme ideas. So let's say at the end of a phrase, I might have a word that I think I'm going to use. And so I'll try to think of words that rhyme with that to use on the next line or the next two lines. And so a good tool to use for doing that is rhymezone.com. So let's see if I type in dress, then what it does is it gives you a bunch of words that rhyme with dress. And I can go through and see if there might be a word I want to use in my song that sort of fits with the idea. So those are great tools to use. And then from there, I was actually able to come up with a basic idea for a chorus. And this might change. It's just sort of a rough chorus. But as you can see at the end, I have, and now I'm coming home. So the start of it, through bitter nights of desolation, over foreign fields I have roamed. across a raging sea of dedication. I've served my time and now I'm coming home. So you have this sort of distance going on, and then now I'm coming home, this arrival idea. So then, because I already have the idea for my chorus, I'm going through each other section of the song, verse 1, verse 2, the bridge, and then coming up with some more specific imagery there. So as you can see, I have my outline for each section. And then what I did is I went through all the senses: sight, sound, smell, touch, taste, like we talked about before, and then trying to come up with specific imagery I could use. So I did that for verse 1, and then verse 2, which was more the sort of war aspect. So got some of the same stuff there. And then for the bridge. Now comes the tricky part, getting all these ideas to fit into the line phrasing and rhyme scheme. As you can see, I pretty much have my chorus finished, although I'm thinking I might have it develop through the song, meaning that each one changes a little bit to progress the story. The rhyme scheme I'm using for that is ABAB. Because I want to keep this video short and as more of an introduction to lyric writing, I'm going to skip ahead and show you my first rough draft. If you want more in-depth instruction on writing lyrics, check out my lyric writing course. So here's what I came up with. So verse 1, remember, was describing this scene of the soldiers sleeping, in a bombed out church or wherever, and with the battle going on in the background, and how does that sound? What puts you there, right? And so for verse 1, we came up with: a distant cadence of thunder shakes me from my waking sleep. Gazing out through a chartreuse fog, falling stars paint the charcoal night they streak. It seems an eon since I left. This Waltham weighs heavily. Waltham is an old watch. Speaking to you in my sleep, you saunter through my dreams easily. So, pretty good. Chorus 1, through bitter nights of desolation, over foreign fields I have roamed, across an ardent sea of dedication, the day approaches when I'm coming home. And then verse 2, remember, was more the battle scene. So it starts with: the taste of sulfur and decay on tongues of witnesses to the pain. One last seditious symphony to put an end to my campaign. I can see you in our meadow, lying in your summer dress. Here's more the home aspect. Speaking to me in your sleep to save me from my distress. And then chorus 2, through war-torn nights of desolation, over foreign fields of trenches I have roamed, across a tattered sea of dedication, I've served my time and soon I'm coming home. So as you can see through the choruses, I am developing them. The story is developing. And then the bridge: with 1 month left of my tenure, a bullet rips through my... So what happened here is that originally I came up with a bullet rips through my heart. And the problem was, though, the only line I could come up to rhyme with that was to be with my sweetheart, and I thought that was pretty lame. So I opted to go through: a bullet rips through my chest, I'll be coming home early in a box, and then the last line that rhymes with that is: so you can lay me to rest. And I thought, it works pretty good. So then chorus 3, through widowed nights of desolation, over fields of discord I have roamed, across a hallowed sea of dedication, my number's up and now I'm coming home. So I'll include these lyrics in the description box down below and you can read through them. Now, I didn't just sit down and crank this out. It takes work and experience to construct a working lyric. As you can see, I used a lot of the imagery from my brainstorming, but some of it got altered because when I sang it with the melody, it just didn't fit right. That's part of being a great songwriter, finding lyrics that not only stand up on their own, but work well with the melody and emotion of the song. There are some problems, though. I actually included these to illustrate a point. If you look at the line, falling stars paint the charcoal night they streak, there's quite a few more syllables than all of the other lines. For that to work rhythmically, I would have to sing that line quite a bit faster to fit all in, plus it's a little redundant. I already said the stars are painting the night. I don't need to say they are streaking it as well. So I'm going to shorten that to, how about falling stars paint the night in streaks? It's shorter and still keeps the rhyme scheme. Also, I like the adjective chartreuse to describe the fog, but it's awkward to sing, so I'm going to use mossy instead. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices to make it work. So now that I'm finished with a solid draft of my lyrics, I'm going to practice it to get the phrasing down and see if there's any changes melodically or lyrically I want to make. In the next video of this series, I'm going to go back to the scratch track I laid out for the song and finish the arrangement and start working on recording the instruments. Please like if you're getting smarter watching this video and subscribe to see more.